Hello, welcome to my bookshelf, and today I will be doing another Top 5 Wednesday video. This week I will be sharing with you my top 5 picks for children's books. I specifically chose books that I currently own and books that I read as a child and obviously really loved. And actually, with all these books that I chose, these are books that I didn't own as a child. These are books that I bought as an adult because I remembered how much I loved them as a child. So these aren't books that I've carried with me this entire time, but they are books that I have all read and that I really enjoyed as a child. There really isn't much order to this list. The first two books are probably the most serious and actually like good literature, and then the other ones are just more fun books that I just really loved reading and picking up as a child. So this first book is probably one of my favorite books of all time, and that would be The House of the Scorpion by Nancy Farmer. Now this is kind of hard to describe, but it's set in the future, and it's more or less a science fiction book, but it's not really about the science fiction elements of it. I think that just helps our plot move along, but it's really just more about the characters and really just like the experience of growing up, especially in a society where you're deemed as lesser than other people, for something that you had no control over, and really something that doesn't matter at all. So our main character is a clone, which is why people look down on him. But if you didn't know that he was a clone, you would have no idea. There's no way to tell the difference between a clone and a human. They're the same thing. And so Matt goes through a lot of different things as he's growing up in this society that doesn't know what to do with him, because a lot of the people are very prejudiced against him for just who he is / how he was born. But he's also supposed to be respected because he's the clone of this very powerful drug lord. And so he kind of has protection from, the people that want to be cruel to him, but they're still not exactly nice to him. So there's a lot of different things going on in this book, and I just think that the questions that are being asked in this book are just so important. And it's just one of those wonderful books that really gives you a lot to think about and just a whole new perspective on how we treat other people. And it was just a fantastic book, and this is probably the first book that I ever reread other than Harry Potter. So that to me is a huge accomplishment for this book because I don't typically reread that many books. So as you can tell, I absolutely love this book, and I would highly recommend it. Even though I think it's supposed to be aimed at middle schoolers, it doesn't really feel that way to me. And I really love that too. It really doesn't talk down to the reader, and I just loved it. It's just a good book. So this is by far my top pick. Okay, so the next book that I wanted to share with you is Holes. This book was actually read to me in either elementary or middle school. I can't remember exactly which one. But either way, my teacher read to the entire class this book. It was one of those kinds of things. And it was just so entertaining. I was just so engaged. It was like one of those old-time radio shows because, someone was, telling me the story instead of seeing it. But I just feel like the way that everything is described, I really got a picture of what was happening. And I really felt invested in our main character's story. And it was just so interesting. There was kind of like this mystery and intrigue. And there was a lot of trying to figure out, what all this stuff meant. They would find random things and you had to figure out, like, what is this? What could this mean? What exactly is going on here? And I just loved that. It was just a lot of fun. This was turned into a movie starring Shia LaBeouf, back in his Even Steven days. But it's a really good movie as far as, a book adaptation goes. But it's just one of those really fun stories. So if you don't know, our main character Stanley, he's kind of falsely accused for stealing shoes, and he's sent to this boys' detention center. And they work these boys every single day by having them dig holes. Every single day. And that's just kind of the setup for the story, but a lot more happens from there. And it's just a really interesting, fun story, I thought. So if you haven't read this book, I would definitely recommend it. It's not that hard of a read, and it was a really interesting, enjoyable experience. The next book on my list was also turned into a movie, but I really enjoyed it a lot as a kid too, so I thought it would be a perfect book on this list. And that is The Adventures of Captain Underpants This is definitely aimed at elementary school students, but it's just a really funny book. Yeah, it's kind of trying to be like a comic book without actually being a comic book. It's just kind of a fun experience, and of course, it's a very easy read because it's very small. But it's just really ridiculous, and it definitely hit me, my elementary school heart in a lot of different ways. It was just really funny. Very ridiculous, over the top, but it was just, I don't know, it was just really fun. I haven't seen the movie yet, but I really want to. It looks really good. It really does remind me a lot of the style of the book. It's been a long time, so I'm not 100% sure if it's that accurate of a movie. The movie does look really funny. Even as an adult, I do kind of want to go see it. So if you're not familiar with the premise of the story, I'm just going to link the trailer in the description below. It'll be a lot easier for the trailer to explain it to you, and I think you'll get a good feel of what kind of book this is. And now that we've been having some fun, I thought it'd be appropriate to change the mood a little bit and go kind of dark. And dark in the sense of scary stories to tell in the dark. This is hard to explain, I guess. Basically, Alvin Schwartz takes these traditional American folklores and he just retells them and he puts it in a book collection. There were 3 different book collections, and the book that I'm holding right here combines all 3 of them, and they're all just presented one after the other. Each story really isn't that long. Some are like a page, some are maybe like 5 pages, but they're very short. And it honestly kind of reminds me of stories that you would try to tell each other, around a campfire, trying to scare everyone. That's kind of the vibe I got from these. Some of them are pretty bizarre, but they were interesting, at the very least. I wasn't personally scared by these, even really as a kid, but honestly, like, reading to me doesn't scare me. Watching some of these things might freak me out if I was like alone in the dark, but I'm not easily scared. But I know that a lot of kids my age were kind of scared and creeped out by this book as a kid, but I just wasn't one of them. I think this kind of book really grew my interest in scary stories and scary movies eventually. But yeah, they're definitely very unique, and they definitely stood out in my mind. And I definitely want to reread this book around Halloween to see if they really are kind of spooky even as an adult. So we shall see. One thing I almost forgot to mention is that there's illustrations of this book. This is a very, not too scary, but it kind of gives you the vibe of the drawing style. So they're just kind of creepy. The drawings are really great, and I think that really adds to the creepy factor. Like, that's kind of crazy spooky. But it really just adds to these stories, I think. They're just very creepy looking drawings, but very appropriate for the kinds of stories being told in this book. And so the last children's book that I wanted to share with you is kind of cheating because it's not a traditional book, but it is definitely something that I really enjoyed as a kid, so you can let me know if this counts or not. But I Spy, and this was a whole collection of books as well. They all had different themes, so there was like a spooky themed one, and there was a Christmas themed one, and like arts and crafts, or like, I don't know, just a whole bunch of different ones. Fantasy, school, treasure hunt, fun house, mystery. There were a whole bunch of them. But if you don't know what they are, it's kind of like Where's Waldo, where you're trying to find something in like a picture image. But what makes it more fun, at least to me, than Where's Waldo, is that if you look on the bottom, there's like the little riddles, and you just have to find all those objects in the picture. So, like in this one it says, I spy a boot, and you have to find a boot somewhere in the picture. And it's just really fun. And so there's all different kinds of pictures. This one that I'm holding up doesn't have any theme, so it actually takes a lot of random pictures from other different collections, and it just kind of puts them all in one book with different riddles on the bottom, which is a little different, but same basic idea. So yeah, I love also just like the fact that someone had to take these pictures. I just think that is so cool. So just, seeing the pictures, having to find and sort through all the things in there to find the one item you're looking for. Like, this one's pretty busy, there's a lot going on. It makes it hard, but it is a lot of fun. You know, just, so there's a lot of them. And just seeing the pictures, like I said, is part of the fun as well, but it's also just so fun to try to find the different objects, you know? I just thought this was a lot of fun as a kid, and it's definitely something that I think that even as an adult that I would love to do, which is why when I saw it at Goodwill, I also bought it, because I would love to get all of these, you know, the entire collection again, and, you know, just periodically just flip through them and try to find them. I just think it's a lot of fun. Okay, so those were my top 5 children's books. I hope you enjoyed this list this week. Please let me know if you read any of these books as a kid and what you thought of them. I would love to hear your thoughts. So as always, thank you for watching this video, and until next time.